I was sold on Mr. Villain's Day Off as soon as I started. I was locked in from episode 1 and was ready to make it my official cozy watch of winter 2024. But when I reached episode 5, things started to get weird and I was suspicious. And then I soon realized that disappointment was on the horizon. Now, before I started the show, I was already sold on the premise. As a member of a malevolent organization, the General is tasked with invading Earth and wiping out humanity. Even an extraterrestrial being like him, however, needs a chance to rest. Not even the Rangers, a team solely dedicated to defeating the General and his colleagues, will stand in the way of him visiting pandas at the zoo, buying ice cream at the convenience store, and enjoying his well-deserved day off from committing evil deeds. Now, this premise, plus the fantastic voice actor for Mr. Villain, Shintaro Asanuma, plus the genuinely funny writing, makes watching the show a relaxing comfort that you can easily come back to week after week. I mean, we get panda on panda content and jokes. We even have a subplot helping 2 tree children fall in love. But the way the show handles their Power Rangers is so frustrating. Now, Mr. Villain's Day Off isn't the first show to feature Rangers who have powers. Shoot, even my last video was about a show that's a Power Ranger parody. Power Rangers and Super Sentai have been popular since the 1980s, 1990s. It seems that people can't get enough of gaggles of people dressed in coordinated, colorful spandex with their flashy, over the top fighting. You know, it's amassed global acclaim. So, with numerous iterations of Power Rangers, does this help or hurt the Rangers in Mr. Villain's Day Off? Now, the Power Ranger universe isn't the most serious of superhero versus villain, concept. So you'd think that I'd cut this show's Rangers some slack. But when we have a wholesome, quaint, and funny slice of life in our lap, I'm gonna be critical of the one part of the show that ruins it for me. So do you mind if I air my grievances? Number 1, pacing. So remember a minute or two ago when I was talking about the premise and how this man is the protagonist? Therefore, the Rangers are merely a subplot. And yet, their infusion into the series still hurts the show, I feel like. Because by the time we learn anything of substance about their backstories, it's episode 10. 10 out of 12. Episode 10 is where everything about their backstories gets dropped on us. They may be minor characters, but to give them substantial backstories that late in the show is odd. By episode 10, I'm fully invested in the General and his shenanigans and his coworkers and the random creatures he meets on the street. And if the Rangers were truly a part of the show, they shouldn't have needed a special episode for their backstories to be shared, right? They gave this episode a different intro, and we don't see the General, I think. And the time spent on the Rangers could have been used for the General. It could have been given to the General with his newly adopted alien cat. I need to know about that relationship. Grievance number 2, a lack of world building. You dump these heavy backstories on us and then you don't elaborate? Example, the previous generation was confirmed to have been essentially offed, and Ranger Black is the only one left. What? How did it happen? You simply assume it was the evil org, but who? Was it our guy? Was it the gen before him? And we'll never know. This show being a slice of life is no excuse to avoid digging into stressful stuff, because Fruits Baskets surely went there. If you know, you know. And you can't make the audience you get sad for no reason. You can't make me sad for no reason and then expect me to be happy with you and happy with the rest of the episode. We find out in episode 10 that the twins are orphans. What? What happened to their parents? We'll never know. The only world building crumb we get is that genetics have nothing to do with the Power Rangers. Sorry, Genetics have nothing to do with Ranger powers. When the previous generation goes, their powers pass on. What? Except in the case of Blue, because his daddy was the Blue Ranger and now he's the next Blue Ranger. You have 4 children living in a corporate lab full time to train and be raised. Because the closer they, I guess, are physically, like in proximity, makes their power stronger, their bond stronger. Side eyeing. This leads me into my final grievance. Number 3, lack of vision and half-assery. Overall, I think the use of the Rangers in this show was almost an afterthought. The way they randomly interact with the general is cute and at times comedic, sure. But is it the cutest thing in the show? Is it the funniest thing in the show? No. And if they're gonna go for it, then they should really commit. These interactions aren't even consistent and evenly distributed. The lack of vision or commitment to making the Rangers true members of this ensemble is why their presence ended up ruining the show for me in the end. They became watered down convenient pawns who randomly appeared in 10 or 12 episodes, less than 2 minutes. That's about 16 minutes of screen time out of 207 minutes. And those 16 minutes are shared between 5 characters. That's 3.2 minutes roughly per character. I cannot believe y'all made me pull out a calculator for this. And what's frustrating is that these characters aren't even bad. They have the potential to be interesting and fleshed out people, but the lack of vision that could lay the world building groundwork for the Rangers should have been done sooner. Because it just makes everything seem like filler to me. Now that I'm reflecting on the show, episode 10 felt like a moment that they simply needed to fill, while conveniently having us learn about the last Ranger, Ranger Twilight Black. Instead of strategically showing the flashback, right? Like, one could argue that the flashback helped us understand Twilight Black in the present day, but making the viewer learn about the history of 3 main side characters while introducing a character we've barely gotten to know wasn't the genius storytelling move the author thought it was. Because with the pacing choice, my heart just wasn't in it. And we're not even given the space at this stage to process and see how this new info impacts how we see the Rangers going forward. I was left trying to figure out how I cared about this sad story when I just wanted to see my villain on his day off. Can I just say that each of these points, pacing, lack of world building, lack of vision, they are all connected, which I think is what adds up to my collective disappointment and frustration. And by the time the show ends, episode 12, I don't feel this lovely wrap up or conclusion or anything emotional. It feels like we're going through the motions. A show that started off pretty dang strong to like us supposed to enjoy this climactic ending, right? Because we don't see the Rangers square off with, the villains like that. And this is not a show about that, right? If it's a show about his day off, why isn't the ending him maybe meeting or interacting with all the Rangers on his day off, right? Like, forget them standing in a random canyon. How about they stand in the mall, in the shopping center, in the street, at a parade, and they see each other, and they're ready to square up there. And he's like, nah. It's my day off. I'm here to see the floats. Even with these grievances in tow, I still think you should check out Mr. Villain's Day Off. Maybe we can get a season 2 and the characters can be fully fleshed out, or maybe you can yell at me in the comments and tell me I'm wrong. Either way, thanks for watching. Cheers.